You thought you knew everything about Young Dolph? The music, the legacy, the tragedy that shook the rap world. But what if I told you the real story didn't end when the headlines faded? Because behind the platinum records and street anthems, there was a hidden empire, a glittering vault of diamonds, rare watches, and custom pieces so exclusive, even some of his closest people allegedly never saw them. We're talking about a $12 million jewelry collection, and now insiders are whispering that not everything is accounted for. Yeah, you heard that right. Sources close to the situation are claiming that shortly after Dolph's passing, tensions inside his inner circle started boiling over. Friends turned suspicious. Family members allegedly started asking questions, and suddenly, pieces from this legendary collection began to quietly disappear. Our fans are shocked. One insider reportedly said, "It wasn't just jewelry, it was history." And now, some of that history is missing. But that's not even the wildest part. Because what we uncovered next, it points to secret storage locations, emotional confrontations behind closed doors, and accusations that could completely change how you see Dolph's legacy. Was it mismanagement? Was it betrayal? Or is there something even deeper going on? And trust me, by the time you hear what allegedly went down between those closest to him, you're going to realize this isn't just about jewelry anymore. This is about loyalty, legacy, and a story that refuses to stay buried. The moment the world lost Young Dolph, fans believed the story was over, a tragic ending to a powerful legacy built from independence, hustle, and loyalty. But behind the scenes, like something far more complicated was quietly unfolding. In the days following his passing, while tributes flooded social media and candlelight vigils lit up the streets, a different kind of conversation was happening behind closed doors. Those closest to Dolph weren't just mourning, they were trying to piece together the full extent of what he left behind. And that's when whispers about the jewelry started to surface. Not just a few chains or watches, but an entire hidden collection, reportedly worth over $12 million, filled with custom pieces, rare diamonds, and one-of-one designs that symbolized his journey from the streets to success. According to insiders, even some members of his inner circle were shocked at the sheer size and value of what was discovered. "We knew he had money. We knew he loved jewelry," one close associate allegedly said, "but nobody knew it was like this." Emotions ran high as family members, friends, and business associates gathered to take inventory, and what was supposed to be a straightforward process quickly turned tense. Some pieces were easy to identify, iconic chains fans had seen in music videos and public appearances, but others, completely unfamiliar. Pieces that had never been posted, never worn publicly, and allegedly stored in private safes across multiple locations. That's when the questions began. Who knew about these hidden items? Who had access? And more importantly, was everything still there? As days turned into weeks, the atmosphere reportedly shifted from grief to suspicion. People started noticing inconsistencies. A watch that one person swore was there suddenly couldn't be found. A diamond-encrusted pendant reportedly listed in a private log was missing when it came time to verify it. At first, it was brushed off as confusion. After all, this was a massive collection, but the tension kept building. One family member allegedly confronted a longtime associate saying, "Something's not adding up. Dolph was organized. He kept records. So where are these pieces going?" That confrontation, according to sources, marked the beginning of a deeper divide. Friends who once stood side by side were now looking at each other with doubt. The family was left divided, unsure who to trust, as rumors quietly spread through their circle. Meanwhile, fans online began picking up on subtle clues. Old photos were being revisited. Jewelry pieces spotted in past posts were being compared to recent findings, and theories started flooding comment sections. "Fans are shocked," one viral post read, "because it looks like some of Dolph's most iconic pieces are nowhere to be found." And just like that, what started as a private matter began turning into public speculation. But the most intense moment reportedly came during a private meeting held to finalize an official inventory. Voices were raised. Accusations were hinted at, though not directly spoken. One insider claimed that someone in the room finally said what everyone was thinking. Either something's missing, or someone's not telling the truth. The silence that followed was heavy, because in that moment it became clear this wasn't just about jewelry anymore. This was about trust, loyalty, and a legacy that suddenly felt like it was slipping through their fingers. As the tension continued to build, the situation surrounding Young Dolph's jewelry collection took an even more dramatic turn when a second inventory check was quietly arranged, this time with tighter security, fewer people in the room, and a sense that something serious was about to be uncovered. According to insiders, the energy was completely different. What was once a space filled with grief and remembrance had now turned cold, calculated, and cautious. Every chain, every bracelet, every diamond-encrusted ring was laid out carefully, under bright lights, documented piece by piece. But even with this heightened level of control, inconsistencies didn't just remain, they became impossible to ignore. One associate reportedly paused mid-check and said, "This isn't matching the original list, not even close." That statement alone sent a wave of unease through everyone present. Because if the records were accurate, then multiple high-value pieces, some estimated individually in the hundreds of thousands, were no longer where they were supposed to be, and just like that, suspicion turned into quiet accusation. Emotions ran high as voices began to rise again, but this time, the confrontations were sharper, more direct. One family member allegedly looked across the table and said, "We're not leaving this room until we get answers." That moment changed everything. What followed, according to sources, was a tense back and forth where people started defending themselves before even being accused. "Don't look at me like that," one voice reportedly snapped. "Would I haven't touched anything," another fired back. "Then explain why pieces Dolph wore every week are suddenly gone." The room fell into chaos, with overlapping voices, frustration spilling over, and years of trust beginning to crack under pressure. Some individuals walked out, refusing to be questioned any further, while others stayed, determined to get to the truth no matter how uncomfortable it became. The family was left divided more than ever, with lines quietly being drawn between those who believed something was wrong and those who insisted it was all a misunderstanding. But just when it seemed like things couldn't get any more intense, a new claim surfaced that pushed the entire situation into another level of mystery. A close insider revealed that Young Dolph may have had additional storage locations that weren't included in the original records, private safes and undisclosed vaults that only a select few people even knew existed. This revelation hit like a shockwave, because if true, it meant two things. Either the missing pieces were never actually missing and were simply stored elsewhere, or someone with knowledge of these hidden locations had already accessed them. And that possibility? It made the situation even more unsettling. Dolph moved differently, the insider allegedly said. He didn't trust easily. If he had extra spots, only a handful of people would know. Immediately, attention shifted to that small circle of trusted individuals. Questions became more pointed. Who had access? Who had been around those locations recently? And why hadn't this information been brought up sooner? Meanwhile, outside of these private meetings, the public speculation was reaching a boiling point. Fans were dissecting every detail online, comparing past photos, analysing interviews, and even creating timelines of when certain pieces were last seen. "Something's definitely off," one fan commented in a viral thread. "There's no way all of this just goes missing without someone noticing." Others defended the situation, arguing that the confusion was understandable given the size of the collection and the emotional state of everyone involved. But even among supporters, doubt lingered. Because the more information leaked, the harder it became to ignore the growing list of unanswered questions. And then came a moment that reportedly shifted the entire tone of the investigation. A quiet but powerful statement from someone who had remained silent up until that point. During a late-night conversation, one individual allegedly said, "This isn't about money. This is about respect. Dolph built this from nothing. If something's gone, we owe it to him to find out why." That statement didn't just resonate, it intensified the urgency. Because now, the situation wasn't just about recovering valuables, it was about protecting a legacy, honoring a name, and uncovering a truth that seemed to be buried deeper with every passing day. As the search for answers intensified, the story surrounding Young Dolph's missing jewelry took a darker and more personal turn, one that nobody in his circle was truly prepared for. What started as confusion had now evolved into quiet investigations, private phone calls, and behind-the-scenes moves that felt more like a high-stakes drama than a family matter. According to insiders, a small group decided to take things into their own hands, stepping away from emotional confrontations and focusing instead on tracing the last known locations of specific pieces. They began reviewing old footage, security logs, and even conversations Dolph had in the months leading up to his passing. And what they allegedly found raised even more questions. Certain pieces that were believed to be missing had actually been seen shortly before everything changed, worn in private settings, or mentioned in conversations that only a few people were present for. "And that means somebody here knows more than they're saying," one insider reportedly whispered during a late-night discussion. That realization sent a chill through the group, because it pointed to something far more unsettling than simple misplacement. At the same time, emotions ran high within the family as trust continued to erode. Conversations that once centered on grief were now filled with tension and guarded responses. One relative allegedly confronted another in a heated exchange, saying, "We're supposed to be protecting his legacy, not tearing each other apart over secrets." The response came quickly and sharply. "Then maybe people should start telling the truth." Those words hung in the air, heavy and unresolved, as the room fell into silence. The family was left divided, with some members pushing for transparency while others grew increasingly defensive. Friends who had been loyal for years suddenly found themselves under scrutiny, their every move questioned. Even long-standing bonds seemed fragile under the weight of suspicion. And yet, despite all the tension, no one could definitively prove what had happened to the missing pieces. That uncertainty only made the situation more frustrating, as every theory felt possible and every explanation felt incomplete. But then came another twist, one that shifted attention in an entirely unexpected direction. A source close to the situation revealed that Young Dolph had allegedly been planning to reorganize parts of his collection before his passing, possibly moving certain high-value items into new locations or even gifting select pieces to people he trusted. This revelation complicated everything, because if some jewelry had been intentionally moved or given away, it meant the missing items might not have been stolen at all. But that possibility brought its own set of problems. If pieces were gifted, where was the documentation? Who received them? And why hadn't anyone come forward to clarify? "If he gave you something, just say that," one insider reportedly expressed in frustration. "Don't let it look like something shady is going on." But no clear answers emerged, and the silence from certain individuals only fueled more speculation. Meanwhile, outside of the inner circle, fans were more engaged than ever, turning the situation into a full-blown online mystery. Social media was flooded with side-by-side comparisons of jewelry pieces, old concert footage, and screenshots from interviews where Dolph proudly showcased parts of his collection. "Fans are shocked," one trending post read, "because it feels like we're watching a real-life puzzle unfold." Some even began theorizing about specific individuals who might have had access, sparking debates that quickly spread across platforms. While many urged respect for the family during such a sensitive time, Others couldn't ignore the growing intrigue surrounding the story. And just when it seemed like the situation couldn't get any more complex, a final revelation in this phase of the investigation reportedly shifted the mood once again. During a private review of records, one detail stood out. A piece of jewelry that had been listed, confirmed, and accounted for had somehow been documented in 2 different locations at the same time. That discovery didn't just raise eyebrows, it deepened the mystery in a way no one expected. Because now it wasn't just about missing items or hidden vaults. It suggested that something within the records themselves might not be as straightforward as everyone believed. And as that realization settled in, one thing became painfully clear. The truth behind Dolph's collection was far more complicated and far more dramatic than anyone had ever imagined. As the investigation into Young Dolph's legendary jewelry collection continued, tensions reportedly reached a boiling point that no one in his circle had expected. After weeks of private meetings, heated confrontations, and careful inventory checks, but some family members allegedly decided to bring in an outside expert, a jewelry appraiser with a reputation for discretion and accuracy, to verify the authenticity and value of the pieces. This decision, according to insiders, caused an immediate stir. Some relatives were supportive, believing it was the only way to settle lingering questions, while others were skeptical, worrying that involving a third party might expose details they preferred to keep private. "We're doing this for Dolph, not for anyone else," one family member reportedly insisted during the discussion. But the tension was palpable. Everyone in the room knew that this step could either resolve the mystery or blow it wide open. When the appraiser reportedly arrived, the atmosphere was intense, almost electric. Every chain, watch, or sand pendant was examined with meticulous care, measured under magnifying lenses, and compared against records that had been meticulously kept by Dolph himself. And as the inspection went on, it became clear that there were discrepancies that went beyond simple misplacement. Some items, according to sources, had subtle markings that didn't match the original logs, suggesting either mislabeling or, in the worst-case scenario, tampering. The reactions were immediate and dramatic. Voices rose, accusations were whispered, and emotions ran higher than ever. "This doesn't make sense," one associate reportedly muttered, shaking his head in disbelief. "Every piece was tracked, every piece was documented. How can this happen now?" Family members looked at each other warily, some unsure who to trust and who might be responsible for these unexpected anomalies. The tension was so thick that some attendees reportedly had to step outside the room to catch their breath. Amid the mounting stress, the story took another shocking turn. A previously quiet insider stepped forward with a claim that reportedly rocked the family's foundation. There were pieces from the collection that had been secretly sold before the public even knew about Dolph's passing. According to this source, some of the higher-end items, including custom diamond pieces, had allegedly been liquidated to cover financial obligations that only Dolph himself knew about. If true, this revelation explained part of the missing inventory, but it also opened a Pandora's box of new questions. Who authorized these sales? Were they done with the family's knowledge? And most importantly, was anyone personally benefiting from the transactions? Emotions reportedly ran high after this disclosure, with one relative exclaiming, "If someone was making moves without telling us, that's a betrayal, plain and simple." The family was now not only grieving but also grappling with the possibility of internal deceit. The drama didn't stop there. In the following days, whispers surfaced that a small portion of the collection may have been relocated to a private storage facility overseas, in a location only a handful of trusted individuals could access. This revelation, according to insiders, prompted yet another round of frantic discussions and speculation. Suddenly, the narrative shifted from simple misplacement to deliberate secrecy. If someone knew where those pieces were and didn't tell the rest of us, that's a problem, one insider reportedly said. Tensions escalated further as family members debated the best way to proceed. Should they demand access to the overseas location immediately, or wait until the dust settled? And how much of the truth could they actually verify? Every decision seemed to carry enormous consequences, both legally and emotionally. Meanwhile, fans continued to watch and speculate online, intensifying the pressure on the family and associates. Social media posts dissecting old videos, comparing jewelry pieces, and theorizing about who might have access to hidden stashes went viral, further fueling the intrigue. Fans are shocked, one trending tweet reportedly read, because it looks like we're watching a real-life treasure hunt unfold right in front of our eyes. The public attention only added to the tension inside, as relatives and friends struggled to balance privacy with transparency. And in this high-stakes environment, every revelation seemed to trigger another twist. Unexpected confrontations, whispered accusations, and emotional arguments that reportedly left some family members questioning relationships they had trusted for decades. What had started as a straightforward inventory check had become a full-blown saga, with layers of mystery, drama, and betrayal that no one could have predicted. It was clear that Dolph's $12 million collection was more than just jewelry. It had become the centerpiece of a story filled with secrets, loyalty tests, and unresolved questions that threatened to divide those closest to him even further. And just like that, the saga of Young Dolph's $12 million jewelry collection leaves us with more questions than answers. Who really has the missing pieces? Were some of them secretly sold, hidden, or gifted? And most importantly, will the full story ever come to light? The drama, the betrayals, and the mystery surrounding Dolph's legacy are far from over, and the family's divided emotions show that even wealth and fame can't shield anyone from conflict. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think happened to the missing jewelry? Do you believe it was mismanaged, stolen, or part of something deeper that only a select few knew about? Drop your theories in the comments below, hit that like button if this story shocked you, and make sure you subscribe for more updates on this unfolding drama. Trust us, you don't want to miss what could be the next explosive twist in the story of Young Dolph's hidden empire.